Picture a majestic kingdom built not of solid stone, but of ancient fading starlight and an unimaginable invisible weight. We live our entire frantic lives on a brilliantly spinning crowded disk, completely unaware of the colossal silent sphere that swallows our world whole. This hidden, spherical expanse securely holds the pristine memories of the very first stars, burning quietly in the dark long before the Earth was even mathematically possible. Deep within this profound emptiness lies an invisible, masterful architect that dictates the graceful motion of everything our eyes can see. It is a massive, heavy shadow that produces absolutely no light of its own, yet its immense gravitational grip keeps our rapidly spinning galaxy from violently tearing itself apart. Surprisingly, this unseen, ghostly scaffolding vastly outweighs the brilliant spiral arms, forming the true hidden bulk of our celestial home. Imagine drifting slowly toward the absolute outer limits of this massive envelope, where the comforting certainty of known physics begins to beautifully unravel. Here, at the very freezing fringes of the intergalactic void, astronomers struggle to balance the ledger of missing matter, mapping a lonely territory that stretches halfway to neighbouring galaxies. If we were to look closer, we would find a mesmerising textured graveyard of shredded dwarf galaxies, leaving ghostly rivers of stars permanently suspended in the eternal night. This quiet room around you is a perfect, unmoving sanctuary, completely sheltered from the sweeping, massive gravitational forces that continuously shape the deep cosmos. Now, gently bring your awareness back to the steady, unforced rhythm of your own breathing and the soft, deeply grounding weight of your physical body resting on the mattress. You're completely safe from the turbulent universe, and these majestic, silent wonders are yours to fully inherit as you sleep. Allow every lingering, stressful thought of the waking world to completely dissolve into the absolute comforting darkness that securely wraps around you tonight. Open your mind's eye to the staggering, beautiful scale of the cosmic wilderness, leaving the vibrant, blinding noise of the crowded stellar cities far behind. Far beyond the familiar spiral arms of our home galaxy, a hidden architecture governs the night. Far beyond the familiar spiral arms of our home galaxy, a hidden architecture governs the night. Surrounding our flat galactic disk is an immense, nearly spherical cloud known as the Galactic Halo. This glowing envelope acts as a massive cosmic vault, holding secrets that date back to the very dawn of time itself. While the Milky Way is often pictured as a dazzling spinning pinwheel of concentrated light, this narrow disk is merely the bustling city centre of a much grander metropolis. Extending outward in every direction, the halo forms a colossal, luminous sphere that completely swallows the familiar spiral we call home. It is a realm of profound silence and unimaginable scale. Journeying into this expansive territory, the brilliant crowded star fields of the galactic plane gradually fall away into a profound emptiness. What remains is a faint ethereal glow cast by ancient stars suspended in the dark. This spherical halo is the true boundary of our galactic home, a quiet borderland standing between the vibrant disk and the deep intergalactic void. To truly grasp the magnitude of the galactic halo, one must abandon all human concepts of distance and scale. This vast envelope stretches hundreds of thousands of light years into the darkness, dwarfing the very disk it encompasses. If our solar system were a single grain of sand, the halo would be a sphere expanding across an entire continent. Travelling at the speed of light, it would take a Voyager hundreds of millennia just to cross from one edge of this ethereal bubble to the other. Even the most powerful rockets built by humanity would be frozen in time against such incomprehensible distances. The halo reaches out so deeply into the intergalactic void that its outermost edges slowly fade into absolute nothingness. Deep within this immense volume, space is stretched to its absolute limits, creating a canvas of staggering proportions. The boundaries of the halo do not end abruptly with a solid wall, but rather dissipate in a gentle, lingering exhale of starlight. It is an ocean of near vacuum where the sheer physical size commands absolute awe and reverence. If we were to look closer at the internal geography of the halo, the contrast with the main galaxy would be instantly striking. Peering outward from the galactic disk, one would see an environment far sparser than the crowded, vibrant spiral arms. The glittering constellations and dense nebulas that define our earthly night sky are nowhere to be found here. Instead, this outer realm is a kingdom of profound isolation and breathtaking solitude. Individual stars in the halo are separated by such terrifying distances that their nearest neighbours are often nothing more than faint, indistinguishable smudges in the endless black. If a planet existed out here, its inhabitants would look up at a sky almost entirely devoid of stars. Wandering through this sparse landscape, a traveller would experience a sensory deprivation unlike anything found within the galactic plane. The explosive chaos of stellar nurseries and the brilliant light of young, massive stars are entirely absent. The halo is a quiet, meditative expanse where the occasional solitary point of ancient light serves as the only beacon in the dark. Despite its name and general appearance, the geometry of this glowing envelope harbours a subtle imperfection. Interestingly, this structure is not perfectly round but slightly flattened by the relentless pull of gravity. It is not a perfect sphere, but rather an oblate spheroid, subtly squashed like a cosmic pearl resting in the dark. This structural deformity is the direct result of the complex gravitational dance occurring throughout the entire galactic system. As the incredibly massive inner disk spins over billions of years, its collective weight exerts a gentle but inescapable influence on the surrounding architecture. The halo responds to this invisible pressure, slowly sagging along its polar axis while bulging slightly outward along the equator. Careful measurements taken by advanced space observatories reveal this gentle flattening, mapping a shape that perfectly balances motion and mass. This slight distortion serves as a physical record of the galaxy's rotation and the hidden distribution of its dark matter core. It reminds us that even the most ethereal, ghost-like structures in the universe are bound by the rigid laws of physics. Gazing out toward the edges of our galactic home, the brilliant majesty of the Milky Way surrenders to a ghostly twilight. Light from these outer reaches is incredibly faint compared to the galaxy's bustling, luminous centre. The stars that wander this lonely territory emit a soft, dying glow that is easily drowned out by the fierce radiation of the inner disk. The faintness of the halo conceals its massive physical presence, allowing it to hide in plain sight around the dazzling galactic core. It is a masterclass in cosmic camouflage, proving that the most dominant structures in the universe are often the most difficult to perceive. Only by stripping away the blinding glare of the present can we finally witness the soft, steady light of the galactic outskirts. This awe-inspiring architectural phenomenon is not a unique feature reserved exclusively for the Milky Way. Nearly all major galaxies across the observable universe are cradled within similar glowing spheres. Whether they are majestic spirals or massive featureless ellipticals, these vast stellar metropolises share this fundamental encompassing boundary. Scanning the deep cosmos, astronomers find these faint halos acting as universal cocoons for galactic evolution. Each one represents a silent spherical sanctuary where the history of its host galaxy is carefully preserved in fading starlight. They are the standard structural framework upon which the luminous universe is built, repeating endlessly across the dark expanse. The realization that these ethereal bubbles are ubiquitous profoundly changes our perspective on the cosmic landscape. Galaxies are no longer just flat, spinning disks floating helplessly in the void, but fully realized three-dimensional spheres of influence. The universe is filled with these overlapping invisible kingdoms, each one quietly holding the bright chaotic engines of star formation within its gentle, protective grip. Revealing the hidden majesty of the galactic halo pushes the limits of human technology and patience. Capturing its true extent requires telescopes to gather photons over extremely long exposures, staring unblinking into the abyss. Short, fleeting glances through even the most powerful lenses yield nothing but absolute darkness. Astronomers must command their orbital observatories to lock onto supposedly empty patches of sky for hundreds of hours. Slowly, photon by solitary photon, the faint ghostly outline of the stellar halo begins to emerge from the background noise. It is a process of cosmic archaeology, carefully brushing away the darkness to reveal the monumental structure buried beneath. The resulting images are testaments to the quiet persistence required to understand the outer cosmos. The halo refuses to surrender its secrets easily, demanding a deliberate, measured approach from those who seek to map its vast borders. Only by collecting the faintest trickles of ancient light over immense spans of time can we finally bring the true, towering scale of our galactic home into focus. Visualizing the architecture of our home galaxy often leads to a profound underestimation of its true physical boundaries. To comprehend its scale, one must realize this sheer volume makes the main galactic disk look incredibly tiny by comparison. The luminous spiral arms holding billions of stars and virtually all known planets are reduced to a mere speck within the wider halo. If the entire visible disk of the Milky Way were shrunk down to the size of a standard dinner plate, the halo would easily fill a massive cathedral. The volume of space enclosed by this spherical boundary is millions of times greater than the narrow band of star formation we inhabit. It is a staggering spatial reality that fundamentally shifts our understanding of where the galaxy actually begins and ends. Living within the dense disk gives us a highly distorted view of our own cosmic significance. We reside in a tiny, crowded neighborhood completely enveloped by an impossibly vast, silent wilderness. The halo is the true bulk of the galaxy, an oceanic expanse that effortlessly swallows the dazzling, noisy island of the galactic plane. Leaving the volatile, violently active regions of the galactic core behind, the environment undergoes a dramatic transformation. Drifting through this ethereal zone reveals a serene, almost completely unchanging landscape. It is a place where the frantic pace of cosmic evolution has slowed to an absolute standstill. Unlike the spiral arms, where supernovas detonate and stellar nurseries aggressively churn out new suns, the halo is locked in a state of eternal calm. The stars that wander here are ancient and stable, burning quietly without the chaotic interference of neighbouring gas clouds or violent stellar winds. Eons pass in this dark realm without a single, significant event disrupting the profound silence. This frozen tranquility offers a mesmerizing counterpoint to the dynamic, ever-changing nature of the inner galaxy. It is an environment perfectly preserved in its original state, immune to the rapid cycles of birth and destruction that plague the disk. Floating through this silent expanse, a sense of timeless peace washes over the observer, leaving only the soft glow of eternal starlight. Drawing back to view the Milky Way in its glorious entirety, a striking realization takes hold. Ultimately, our entire galactic home is essentially floating inside this massive, quiet bubble. The spinning disk of stars, planets, and brilliant nebulas is perfectly suspended within the center of this unseen spherical ocean. The halo is not just an afterthought or a distant borderland, but the primary container holding the galaxy together. It wraps around the volatile inner core like a protective shell, shielding the delicate spiral structures from the harsh, violent realities of the wider universe. Every star you have ever seen in the night sky is safely nestled within the deep embrace of this ethereal sphere. Recognizing the true nature of this luminous outskirt completely redefines our cosmic address. We are not sailing naked through the dark, unforgiving void of intergalactic space. We are passengers voyaging deep within the heart of a colossal glowing sphere, endlessly protected by the silent, majestic architecture of the galactic halo. Endlessly protected by the silent, majestic architecture of the outer halo, an isolated population of celestial bodies drifts slowly through the eternal night. Deep within this exceedingly sparse environment reside some of the absolutely oldest stars in all of existence. They are the original glowing sparks that initially ignited the dark, acting as ancient sentinels keeping a silent, endlessly enduring watch over the continuously expanding cosmos. Finding these stellar elders requires a conscious effort to look past the distracting, vibrant glare of the much younger, brighter constellations filling the inner disk. These solitary, pioneering objects exist in a state of profound, undisturbed isolation, scattered incredibly thinly across the vast, empty, spherical volume of the galactic outskirts. Their quiet presence transforms the otherwise desolate outer borders into a sacred, majestic cosmic graveyard teeming with living, burning fossils. Time operates in an entirely different manner out here in the quiet fringes, where unfolding eons leave barely a physical mark on the tranquil surroundings. The gentle light emitted by these surviving ancients carries the heavy, awe-inspiring weight of unfathomable antiquity across the freezing void. Simply observing their steady, unwavering glow connects the fragile present moment directly to the violent, fiery beginning of the luminous universe itself. Tracing the incredibly long lineage of these glowing orbs takes the mind back to an unimaginable era, long before complex terrestrial planets or small rocky moons were even mathematically possible. These stellar elders formed countless eons ago when the entirety of the universe was still caught in its turbulent, rapidly expanding infancy. They coalesced slowly from the very earliest massive clouds of completely pristine hydrogen gas that cooled shortly after the intense heat of the cosmic dawn. During those chaotic, formative early epochs, the fundamental fabric of space was significantly smaller, unimaginably denser, and wildly unpredictable. The spectacular birth of these enduring stars marked the most crucial transition from absolute, blinding darkness to a physical reality beautifully filled with radiating light. They were the trailblazing, foundational furnaces that deliberately began the endlessly excruciating, incredibly slow process of illuminating the endless interstellar void. Surviving the harsh, incredibly volatile conditions of the early, densely packed cosmos is a monumental testament to their enduring, perfect physical stability. While countless subsequent generations of much larger, more aggressively burning suns have long since detonated and vanished into scattered dust, these quiet survivors remain faithfully intact. They have burned with unparalleled, unwavering patience through virtually the entire known history of physical time itself. Categorizing the widely varied inhabitants of the deep night sky eventually reveals a profound, distinct separation between the highly volatile new and the deeply stabilized old. Careful observers of the cosmos officially classify these exceedingly rare metal-poor celestial bodies under the specific designation of a completely distinct, far older stellar population. This deliberate scientific categorization effectively identifies them as verified, esteemed members of a highly exclusive, phenomenally ancient stellar generation that predates almost everything else. The specific naming convention might initially seem completely counterintuitive to the layperson, primarily because these significantly older bodies were discovered and formally classified long after the younger, more chemically familiar stars of our immediate local neighbourhood. Yet, this particular isolated group represents the true foundational ancestors of the brilliantly complex modern galactic ecosystem we inhabit today. They are the quiet, entirely unassuming matriarchs and patriarchs resting at the very bottom roots of the sprawling stellar family tree. As you lie there resting, deliberately let your physical body sink even deeper into the supportive surface beneath you, feeling the steady, calming rhythm of your own breathing perfectly mirroring this enduring cosmic patience. Allow every ounce of built-up tension in your weary muscles to simply dissolve out into the dark, exactly as the complex, noisy structures of the inner galaxy gracefully fade away here in the halo. You are completely anchored, entirely safe, and floating gently in your mind alongside these ancient, beautifully slow cosmic travelers. Instead of that complex chemistry, they are composed almost exclusively of the absolute most basic, fundamental building blocks of raw matter, simple hydrogen, and a tiny, almost negligible trace amount of inert helium. This extreme, unpolluted elemental purity is the direct, unavoidable result of their incredibly early historical formation period. They were spectacularly born long before the universe had the necessary time to violently cook up heavier, more complicated materials inside the collapsing, superheated bellies of dying stellar giants. Because they entirely lack these heavy metallic impurities, their deep internal fusion engines manage to burn with a distinctly different, far quieter, and highly frugal efficiency. Their outer atmospheres are beautifully transparent and remarkably clean, entirely uncluttered by the dense, light-blocking metallic smog that heavily characterizes much more recently formed, dirtier stars. They serve as the brilliantly stripped-down, perfectly essential physical blueprints of exactly what a glowing star was originally meant to be. Analyzing the faint travelling light constantly radiating from these remarkably clean, ancient stellar atmospheres is exactly like carefully reading a perfectly preserved, entirely uncorrupted historical manuscript. Locked securely and preserved perfectly within their blazing cores is the absolutely pristine, untouched elemental recipe of the primordial cosmos. They act as colossal, living time capsules drifting through the void, faithfully maintaining the exact chemical ratios that dominated reality mere moments after the expanding universe successfully cooled. The sprawling modern nebulas filling the inner disk are now heavily polluted by the chaotic, explosive physical debris of countless past supernovas, heavily masking the original pure state of physical reality. But these isolated, incredibly lonely wanderers have successfully locked the early universe securely away inside their burning centres, keeping it entirely safe from any outside chemical contamination. Their highly specific, measurable spectral signatures provide scientists with an unbroken, direct optical link to an era that is otherwise entirely lost to the crushing weight of cosmic history. Studying the light from these untouched floating celestial vaults allows modern astrophysicists to carefully verify the absolute most fundamental, core theories regarding our collective cosmic origins. They offer irrefutable, beautifully glowing physical proof of exactly what the raw, untamed universe looked like just before the incredibly chaotic, messy cycles of stellar death and rebirth officially began. It represents a level of profound chemical innocence that can never, ever again be naturally replicated anywhere in the modern, heavily recycled cosmic era. The physical movement of these majestic stellar elders through the vacuum of space is entirely wonderfully distinct from the highly orderly, carousel-like flattened rotation of the younger inner disk. Plunging dramatically and aggressively right through the incredibly dense galactic plane, these solitary objects follow highly eccentric, violently looping and deeply elongated orbits. They absolutely do not travel in neat, comforting, flat circular paths, but rather dive spectacularly and soar majestically along wildly tilted, highly elliptical trajectories that totally defy the central traffic. Picture a scattered, chaotic swarm of independent glowing embers tracing impossibly long, intersecting and sweeping arcs around a brilliantly illuminated central campfire, completely ignoring the established flattened paths. These lonely wandering stars spend the vast, overwhelming majority of their incredibly long lives hovering slowly in the high, freezing, perfectly empty altitudes of the outer halo. Then, violently fueled by the crushing pull of gravity, they suddenly plummet straight down, briefly piercing the crowded, noisy disk before aggressively flinging themselves right back out into the silent, comforting void. Gently, let the natural, unforced rise and fall of your resting chest perfectly align with these majestic, sweeping and rhythmic cosmic dives. Notice precisely how your resting limbs feel increasingly heavy and deeply relaxed, perfectly surrendered to the gentle, pulling gravitational forces of your own quiet, secure environment. With every long, slow exhale you take, deliberately release any lingering, stressful thoughts, perfectly matching the effortless, totally silent and sweeping glide of these solitary celestial bodies, the sheer, staggering geographical scale of their epic orbital journeys completely and utterly defies the frantic, highly hurried and chaotic pace of normal terrestrial life, completing a complete massive looping revolution around the entire sprawling central galactic system, reliably takes these wanderers countless, unfathomable eons. An isolated solitary orbital year for an ancient cruising object easily spans multiple entire geological epochs on a rapidly changing rocky world like our own. Since the exact ancient moment they were originally born in the dark, most of these enduring stars have only managed to complete a very small portion of full, sweeping trips around the bright centre. They constantly move with an agonizingly slow, deeply majestic and awe-inspiring deliberation, slowly covering spatial distances that easily fracture and overwhelm the standard human mind. Their massive, sweeping, looping trajectories carry them incredibly far out into the freezing, empty borders of intergalactic space before the central gravity finally, gently reels them back in. This incredibly long, mathematically staggering orbital period contributes directly and heavily to their profound, inescapable sense of deep cosmic isolation. They are the ultimate cosmic marathoners, silently running an endless, incredibly lonely and agonizingly slow race across the absolute largest track imaginable to physics. The extreme, unfathomable duration of their solitary journeys guarantees they will always remain eternal outsiders, completely and forever disconnected from the dense, buzzing, highly populated heart of the central galaxy. Deliberately visualizing this sparse, sweeping, and overwhelmingly vast environment slowly reveals a beautiful, highly distinct shift in the overall color palette of the deep night. A vast majority of these quietly wandering bodies burn with a highly specific, cool, and distinctively reddish hue directly due to their remarkably low overall mass and their incredibly advanced ancient age. The blistering, highly damaging and intensely harsh blue light blasted out by massive short-lived young stars is completely, wonderfully absent from this entire ancient stellar population. Over the span of countless eons, their deep internal fusion reactors have naturally settled into an incredibly steady, highly frugal and fiercely conservative slow burn. They carefully consume their remaining pristine hydrogen fuel reserves at a mere tiny portion of the aggressive, wasteful rate of their much larger, violently burning inner disk cousins. This wonderfully slow, highly efficient rate of fuel consumption dramatically lowers their outer surface temperatures, ultimately resulting in a beautifully soft, warmly glowing crimson radiance. Their dim, remarkably gentle red light is deeply and profoundly soothing, strongly resembling the slowly dying, comfortably warm embers of a late-night cosmic campfire peacefully fading away into the absolute freezing dark. It provides a highly gentle, totally unobtrusive, and remarkably comforting illumination that perfectly, flawlessly matches the quiet, deeply meditative nature of their isolated, lonely environment. They absolutely never blind the distant observer. They merely offer a delightfully warm, highly comforting and constant visual presence out in the freezing cold. Successfully catching the incredibly faint, highly stretched red photons travelling outward from these distant glowing embers remains an absolute, highly revealing tool in all of modern astrophysics. Carefully examining their ancient, endlessly travelling light directly provides an entirely unclouded, spectacularly clear window into the exact physical conditions of the intensely violent early universe. The highly specific, stretched electromagnetic wavelengths they constantly emit carry deeply coded, vital messages about the temperature, the overall density, and the fluid dynamics of the original cosmic dawn. Because these incredibly stubborn stars have remained relatively, wonderfully unchanged since their original violent birth, their escaping light constantly serves as a flawless, entirely continuous, unbroken broadcast directly from the deep past. By highly carefully decoding this soft crimson glow, dedicated researchers can virtually accurately reconstruct the absolute earliest, chaotic epochs of physical existence with stunning, unparalleled clarity. It is exactly like successfully intercepting a pristine, uncorrupted radio transmission that was originally broadcast at the very literal beginning of recorded physical time. Slowly and consciously relax the tense muscles hidden in your jaw and deliberately let your heavy eyes rest softly, feeling completely bathed in the imaginary comforting warmth of this ancient, travelling red light. Feel the profound, entirely quiet stillness of the room securely wrapping around you, acting as a safe, comforting harbour, perfectly echoing the tranquil, completely undisturbed vacuum of the deep outer halo. Allow yourself to sink fully, deeply, and completely into this rare moment of profound, enveloping peace, silently allowing the universe to whisper its absolute oldest, most closely guarded secrets directly to you. The undeniable continuing existence of these spectacularly calm, ancient red wanderers beautifully highlights a dramatically profound duality hidden deep within the sprawling architecture of the cosmos. Such incredibly quiet, unbothered sentinels stand in highly stark, intensely poetic contrast to the violently explosive, chaotic, and aggressively loud stellar nurseries found buried deep within the flat galactic disk. It physically tells a compelling, undeniable tale of distinctly different, completely opposing realities, perfectly coexisting within the exact same massive, sweeping gravitational embrace. While the incredibly dense, brightly lit spiral arms are overwhelmingly defined by the chaotic, deafening noise of aggressive creation, shattering supernovas and churning dense molecular clouds, the expansive outer halo remains perfectly, beautifully still. The deeply ancient stars aimlessly floating out here demand absolutely nothing from their surroundings and violently disrupt absolutely nothing, perfectly, blissfully content in their eternal, silently looping isolation. They act as the profoundly silent, deeply meditative monks of the wider galaxy, peacefully watching the chaotic, bustling, overwhelmingly crowded stellar cities spin endlessly, violently below them. Ultimately, this striking, seemingly contradictory physical dichotomy brings a profound sense of perfect, highly harmonious balance to the entire massive cosmic structure. The intensely volatile, dangerously unpredictable, and ever-changing nature of the young, flat disk is safely, permanently anchored by the incredibly steady, totally unmoving and patient presence of the surrounding spherical elders. Together, they seamlessly create a beautifully, perfectly complete system, showcasing a masterful, awe-inspiring blend of explosively violent youth and enduring, deeply luminous silent wisdom. This deeply luminous silent wisdom is perfectly encapsulated by the most breathtaking, densely packed formations found floating in the vastness of the halo. Suspended throughout this incredibly dark, lonely expanse are magnificent, brilliantly glowing stellar congregations formerly known to astronomers as globular clusters. They are incredibly striking, highly luminous spherical islands of tightly concentrated starlight, hanging perfectly suspended in the absolute pitch-black vacuum of the outer galactic environment. Spotting one of these dazzling, perfectly spherical swarms against the profound, terrifying emptiness of deep space is a truly mesmerizing, unforgettable visual experience. Unlike the solitary, endlessly lonely ancient wanderers freely roaming the outer borders, the stars within these incredibly majestic formations are deeply, permanently bound together in tightly packed communities. They form entirely self-contained, beautifully glittering mini-galaxies, endlessly drifting through the surrounding dark like perfect isolated droplets of intensely concentrated cosmic light. The sheer, breathtaking visual density of these tightly packed spherical swarms makes them incredibly easy to spot, even across staggering intergalactic distances. They appear as perfectly round, brilliantly glowing spheres, softly radiating a constant, highly concentrated and perfectly symmetrical starlight outward into the freezing void. Each one serves as a magnificent, blindingly bright beacon in the dark, acting as a crucial, brilliant navigational anchor in the otherwise featureless, utterly empty ocean of the far outer rim. Approaching the intense, blinding heart of one of these magnificent structures reveals a terrifyingly crowded, incredibly chaotic internal stellar environment. Each of these tightly packed, perfectly spherical orbs contains hundreds of thousands, and sometimes even countless millions, of individual, fiercely burning stars bound tightly together by their overwhelming mutual gravity. The resulting density of the internal core is so incredibly high that it totally defies the normal, highly sparse distribution of matter found throughout the rest of the wider universe. Within the incredibly dense, incredibly hot central regions of a typical cluster, the incredibly close physical proximity of neighbouring suns creates a highly chaotic, terrifyingly complex gravitational dance. Individual stars constantly, violently tug at one another, their perfectly overlapping, intensely powerful gravitational fields creating a highly unpredictable, churning environment. It is a wildly dynamic, endlessly swirling vortex of immense, crushing mass and intensely blinding light, entirely contained within a remarkably tiny, highly compressed volume of space. Despite this incredible, overwhelming internal crowding, the overall outer shape of the massive swarm remains flawlessly, perfectly spherical. The collective, crushing inward pull of a million suns perfectly balances the incredibly chaotic, violent outward motion of the individual, frantically orbiting stars. This flawless, delicate balance between crushing gravity and violent motion results in a mathematically perfect, visually stunning sphere, resembling a flawlessly crushed diamond perfectly suspended in the absolute dark. The incredible, enduring longevity of these brilliant, tightly packed swarms is perhaps their most astonishing, deeply defining characteristic. Such phenomenally dense structures have successfully maintained their incredibly delicate, highly precarious internal structural balance for well over 10 billion long chaotic years. They have easily outlasted the violent destruction and violent rebirth of countless other, much larger galactic structures, proving themselves to be incredibly resilient, perfectly designed survivors of deep time, surviving entirely intact since the absolute earliest, most violent epochs of the original universe requires an incredibly rare, perfectly balanced set of physical circumstances. The intense, crushing internal gravity holding them so tightly together must be absolutely perfect. If it were even slightly weaker, the chaotic internal motion would completely tear the massive cluster apart. If the gravity were even marginally stronger, the entire structure would violently, catastrophically collapse inward upon its own incredibly dense core. Allow your resting body to completely surrender to the perfectly steady, totally reliable downward pull of your own environment, perfectly matching the enduring, flawless balance of these ancient structures. Feel the heavy, supportive weight of your completely relaxed limbs pressing deeply into the soft surface, a comforting, highly physical echo of this enduring, perfectly balanced cosmic gravity. As you continue to breathe slowly and deeply, visualize this flawless, ancient stability gently seeping directly into your own quiet, deeply resting mind. Carefully mapping the exact distribution of these ancient glittering swarms reveals a highly specific, visually stunning arrangement surrounding our own vast, flat home. Over 150 of these dazzling, brilliantly glowing swarms endlessly orbit the intensely massive, deeply hidden centre of our native galactic system. They're completely scattered across the immense, encompassing spherical volume, totally ignoring the flat, crowded plain where the vast majority of regular younger stars currently reside. This highly specific, sprawling, three-dimensional distribution beautifully traces the true, massive, towering, spherical outline of the invisible outer boundaries. They essentially form a colossal, brilliantly glowing cage of perfectly round, highly concentrated starlight, entirely encompassing the violently spinning, flattened inner disk. Watching them slowly trace their massive, sweeping, looping orbits clearly outlines the full, staggering, volumetric size of the complete, encompassing gravitational system. Their long, sweeping paths continuously carry them through highly varied, deeply contrasting environments, moving from the freezing, totally empty borders to the incredibly dense, noisy core. They are eternal, brilliant voyagers, constantly plunging through the flat, dusty plain before majestically soaring back out into the profound, absolute isolation of the deep halo. This relentless, incredibly long cyclic journey makes them vital, incredibly long-lived messengers, constantly moving between the wildly different, contrasting realities of the complex cosmic structure. Placing oneself mentally deep within the intensely crowded, blazing core of one of these ancient swarms provides a perspective completely alien to the human experience. From deep inside one, the surrounding night sky would continuously blaze with the blinding, overlapping light of countless incredibly close, highly brilliant neighbours. The concept of a dark, quiet night would be totally non-existent, completely banished by the relentless omnidirectional glare of a million closely packed, fiercely burning suns. Looking upward from an imaginary, highly resilient planet hidden deep within the central core, the visible sky would be an overwhelming, solid tapestry of intensely bright, violently burning light. The incredibly close physical proximity of neighbouring stars would make them appear as massive, glaring, brilliantly glowing disks, rather than the tiny, softly twinkling pinpricks we are accustomed to. The sheer, overwhelming intensity of the continuous overlapping starlight would physically erase the deep blackness of space, leaving only a chaotic, beautifully blinding, completely unbroken dome of raw, blazing energy. The resulting visual environment would be simultaneously deeply terrifying and profoundly, unimaginably beautiful. A true sensory overload of pure, concentrated, raw, stellar power. Life, if it could somehow possibly exist in such an incredibly dense, chaotic environment, would evolve completely differently, fundamentally shaped by the constant, unyielding and totally inescapable barrage of intense, omnidirectional radiation. It offers a stunning, completely different paradigm of what exactly a planetary sky could possibly look like in the most extreme, totally crowded corners of the observable universe. Despite this terrifyingly dense, deeply crowded and seemingly dangerous internal environment, a highly surprising, deeply counterintuitive physical reality exists. Surprisingly, violent, highly destructive direct collisions between individual, frantically orbiting stars in these crowded, swirling cities are exceptionally, incredibly rare occurrences. The vast empty space physically separating even the most incredibly tightly packed stellar neighbours remains staggeringly large, completely defying basic human intuition regarding such dense, crowded swarms. Even in the absolute most densely packed, deeply central core of the cluster, where hundreds of thousands of stars frantically swirl, the physical distances are massive. If two incredibly close neighbouring stars were mentally scaled down to the exact size of mere tennis balls, they would still be separated by several miles of totally empty, highly pristine vacuum. The overwhelming majority of the physical volume within the densely packed cluster remains entirely empty, allowing the fiercely burning inhabitants to frantically orbit without ever making highly destructive physical contact. Observing the overall movement of the entire highly massive structure through the vacuum of space reveals an incredibly elegant, profoundly synchronized choreography. Moving gracefully as totally unified, perfectly coherent entities, They continuously trace highly complex, deeply sweeping paths through the cold, utterly empty galactic outskirts. They do not travel as chaotic, scattered clouds of independent objects, but rather as solid, cohesive, brilliantly glowing spheres, tightly bound together on a massive, singular, endless journey. This deeply unified, highly coordinated movement implies a tremendous, totally inescapable internal gravitational bond, strong enough to entirely resist the powerful, disruptive tug of the much larger, massive main galaxy. As the tightly packed cluster aggressively dives through the dense, crowded inner disk, the external gravitational forces violently try to rip the beautiful formation entirely apart. Yet, the overwhelming internal gravity holding the massive swarm perfectly together always fiercely resists, successfully keeping the glowing sphere beautifully intact as it swiftly continues its long, highly dangerous orbit. Watching them gracefully maneuver through the highly dangerous, intensely disruptive gravitational tides of the dense inner core highlights their incredible, enduring structural integrity. They are virtually indestructible, highly resilient cosmic fortresses, effortlessly weathering the incredibly intense, violently disruptive forces that easily tear apart much weaker, less dense stellar associations. Their tightly unified, highly synchronized movement is a powerful, deeply beautiful testament to the enduring, overwhelming strength of their internal, ancient gravitational bonds. The incredible, staggering age of these brilliant swarms provides an invaluable, entirely unique scientific opportunity for eager astronomers. The incredibly rare, virtually simultaneous birth of all their countless constituent stars makes them absolutely perfect, highly pristine laboratories for intensively studying highly complex stellar evolution. Because absolutely every single star within the massive cluster, formed at exactly the same time, from exactly the same cloud of gas, they share a totally unified, highly precise starting line. This incredibly uniform, totally shared physical origin absolutely eliminates the highly confusing, intensely complex variables that usually plague the study of deeply mixed stellar populations. Any highly visible differences carefully observed between individual stars deeply within the dense cluster must be exclusively, entirely due to differences in their initial original mass, rather than differences in their highly varied age or complex chemical composition. It creates a beautifully controlled, highly natural scientific experiment, totally isolated and perfectly preserved deep within the dark, freezing vacuum of the outer halo. By carefully, intensely studying these totally unified, brilliantly glowing populations, dedicated researchers can perfectly trace the incredibly slow, highly predictable life cycles of deeply different types of stars. They serve as essential, completely irreplaceable, highly reliable cosmic clocks, allowing scientists to accurately, reliably measure the true staggering age of the entire encompassing galactic system. Their simultaneous, highly unified birth provides the essential, crucial baseline entirely needed to deeply understand the highly complex, unfolding history of the surrounding luminous universe. Focusing modern, highly advanced optical instruments directly on these distant glowing spheres reveals a completely stunning, intensely beautiful visual reality. Highly detailed, deeply focused telescopic views of these massive ancient clusters consistently reveal breathtaking, intensely brilliant, perfectly jewel-like symmetries. The intensely bright, blinding core smoothly, perfectly transitions into a highly diffuse, softly glowing outer shell, creating a flawless, mathematically beautiful gradient of concentrated starlight. The incredible visual contrast between the blazing, highly concentrated central heart and the softer, more deeply scattered outer edges provides a truly stunning, mesmerizing three-dimensional depth. They strongly resemble flawlessly cut, brilliantly glowing gemstones perfectly suspended against the absolute black velvet of the deep, empty intergalactic void. The staggering sheer number of individual fiercely burning stars perfectly blending their intense light beautifully creates a flawless, completely unified radiance that is totally unmatched by any other deep space formation. Take a slow, deep breath and quietly envision this perfect, glowing, jewel-like symmetry resting safely, securely behind your heavily closed eyelids. Allow the flawless, intensely beautiful image of this brilliant, perfectly round, ancient swarm to completely banish any lingering stressful thoughts of the noisy, highly complex day. You're resting peacefully under the soft, protective, highly ancient light of 1,000,000 tightly bound suns, floating safely and quietly in the absolute deep dark. The incredible, deeply massive weight of these tight swarms ensures they are absolutely not just entirely passive, utterly silent observers of the surrounding galaxy. As they eventually, violently pass near the dense, crowded inner disk, their own immense, incredibly powerful gravitational weight gently but firmly tugs at the highly delicate surrounding gas. Their deeply massive, concentrated bulk physically distorts the highly fragile surrounding environment, leaving a distinct, highly measurable physical wake in their continuing long path. This deeply subtle, highly invisible gravitational interaction actively, effectively stirs the highly diffuse, extremely thin material slowly drifting throughout the outer, freezing borders. It carefully redistributes the highly vital, extremely sparse resources needed for any potential, incredibly rare future star formation in the outer realms. They act as massive, entirely silent, deeply powerful stirring rods, continuously ensuring that the highly diffuse outer atmosphere remains incredibly dynamic, beautifully active and highly mixed. Ultimately, their incredibly sweeping, deeply profound journey represents a highly vital, totally ongoing physical connection between the dark, empty borders and the dense, vibrant core. They are highly active, immensely powerful participants in the incredibly slow, beautifully sweeping, majestic evolution of the entire massive cosmic structure. Their brilliantly shining, perfectly round, ancient presence ensures that the vast empty halo remains a deeply active, incredibly important, highly dynamic part of the complete, beautifully functioning galactic machine. This beautifully functioning galactic machine is not merely a collector of static orbs, but a dynamic consumer of everything that ventures too close to its borders. Winding invisibly through the freezing absolute void of the outer halo are enormous, ghostly structures known as stellar streams. These ethereal rivers of light flow silently across the darkness, marking the exact paths of travellers who have been permanently caught in the galaxy's relentless gravitational grip. They are often so faint that they remain completely hidden from the naked eye, appearing only when our most sensitive cameras stare into the blackness for hours. Each stream represents a long-forgotten story of a smaller system that once sailed the intergalactic seas before being reeled in by the massive weight of our home. In the quiet of the halo, these rivers represent a slow and steady movement, a current of starlight that carries the memory of distant places through the void. If we were to look closer at the origin of these sweeping ribbons, we would find a history of monumental loss and slow, elegant transformation. These delicate glowing ribbons are actually the shredded remains of much smaller, once independent dwarf galaxies that wandered too far from the safety of the void. They were once vibrant, self-contained stellar communities that possessed their own unique shapes and histories before being drawn into the overwhelming influence of our massive home. As they were pulled toward the centre, their original structures began to warp and stretch, losing the cohesive shape they had maintained for billions of years. The individual stars, once part of a tight-knit family, were forced to spread out into a thin, elongated line that follows the path of their final journey. This process turns a solid, glowing sphere of stars into a long, diaphanous veil that hangs suspended in the outer reaches of our world. Surprisingly, the universe does not always destroy with a sudden explosion, but often through a slow and agonizingly graceful stretching of space and time. Drawn too close to the massive centre of our home galaxy, these former neighbours were slowly and methodically torn apart by immense tidal forces. The gravitational pull on the side of the dwarf galaxy nearest to our core was significantly stronger than on the far side, creating a tension that no structure could withstand. Like a piece of celestial taffy, the smaller galaxy was elongated until its stars were stripped away one by one, forming a trail that spans the sky. This tidal stripping is a quiet, non-violent form of cosmic consumption that leaves behind a beautiful, glowing scar in the fabric of the halo. It is a testament to the sheer power of the central mass, a weight so great that it can unravel entire worlds without ever making physical contact. Take a moment to feel the complete stillness of your own body, noticing the gentle weight of your hands and the soft rhythm of your breath. Just as these stars move in a perfectly balanced path, your body is resting in a state of absolute, effortless peace. You are anchored and safe, far removed from the stretching tides of the deep outer reaches. Deep within the darkness, these unravelling threads of starlight do not scatter randomly like dust in the wind, but follow a strict and beautiful geometry. Drawn out over countless millennia, the resulting trails of debris now trace elegant, elongated paths that arc majestically across the entire northern and southern skies. These stellar highways define the invisible gravitational contours of the halo, marking the beautiful but tragic paths of a galaxy being absorbed. They resemble the arcs of a cosmic fountain, frozen in time against the black velvet of the background universe. Each arc tells us exactly how the dwarf galaxy approached us, whether it spiraled in from the side or dived headfirst into the centre. By tracing these paths, we can see the history of the galaxy's appetite, mapped out in lines of light that stretch for hundreds of thousands of light years. One incredible and particularly vivid example of this architecture is the magnificent Sagittarius stream, which completely wraps around our galaxy like a glowing gossamer thread. This immense structure forms a nearly perfect loop of ancient stars, tracing a path that plunges through the galactic poles and arcs high above the disk. It is a stunning visual reminder that the halo is continuously being woven together by the remnants of the past. If our eyes could see this stream, it would look like a giant glowing hula hoop surrounding the Milky Way, pulsing with the light of millions of displaced stars. It is so vast that it passes right through our local neighbourhood, though its stars are so spread out that we barely notice them among the local crowd. This stream is the most prominent evidence of an ongoing feast, a long-term integration that is still happening as we speak. By meticulously mapping these ethereal rivers, modern astrophysicists have found a way to see the entirely invisible parts of our cosmic home. These streams act as highly sensitive gravitational probes, allowing researchers to accurately measure the hidden mass of the entire galactic system. The specific speed and curvature of the moving stars reveal the presence of dark matter that would otherwise remain forever hidden from our most powerful instruments. The way a stream bends and flows tells us exactly where the heaviest pockets of invisible matter are located in the outer halo. It is like watching the current of a river to find the hidden rocks beneath the surface of the water. Without these ghostly guides, our maps of the galaxy would be incomplete, missing the vast majority of the weight that holds everything together. The individual members of these ghostly rivers do not wander aimlessly, but share a profoundly deep and inescapable connection across the void. Every single star within a specific stream moves in perfect, haunting unison, forever sharing a tragic and unified gravitational history. They are like a line of weary travellers walking in single file, bound together by the memory of the home they once inhabited together. Even though they may be separated by trillions of miles, they are all falling toward the same destination at the exact same speed. This shared momentum is an invisible bond that keeps the stream from dissolving into the general background for billions of years. It is a beautiful form of loyalty, a group of stars that refuses to forget its origin, even as it is stretched across the universe. Watching this process of cosmic integration reveals a remarkably gradual, ongoing event rather than a violent or sudden destruction. The absorption of a dwarf galaxy into the wider halo is a masterpiece of slow-motion physics, taking billions of years to reach its quiet conclusion. It is a peaceful, almost meditative transition where one identity slowly and gracefully surrenders itself to become part of something much larger. There are no collisions or fiery explosions in this process, only a gentle blending of orbits and light. The smaller galaxy simply becomes a part of the larger one, its stars adding their own unique glow to the vast spherical shell of the halo. It is an act of creation through assimilation, a way for the galaxy to grow and mature by embracing its neighbours in a final, eternal hug. Eventually, after enough time has passed, these beautifully stretched out remnants will disperse entirely into the general population of the halo. The distinct, thread-like identity of the stream will slowly blur and fade until the individual stars become indistinguishable from the other ancient wanderers. This is the final, quiet step in the long process of cosmic assimilation, where the river finally reaches the ocean and becomes one with the deep. When this happens, the history of the individual dwarf galaxy is finally erased, leaving only its stars to drift as anonymous citizens of the Milky Way. They lose their shared momentum and their collective path, blending into the background of 100 billion other lights. The halo is filled with these hidden ghosts, stars that once belonged to other worlds, but now call this place their home. Feel the soft warmth of the air around you, and the total lack of urgency in this moment, allowing your mind to become as vast and still as the galactic halo itself. Your thoughts are drifting like slow-moving stars, peaceful and free from any external pull. You're perfectly at rest, enveloped in a cocoon of absolute, unchanging safety. These ghostly rivers stand as silent, beautifully glowing memorials to the smaller star systems that helped build the foundations of our home. Every star in the halo has a story to tell, and many of those stories began in distant, forgotten places long before our galaxy reached its current majesty. They remind us that the Milky Way is not a static entity, but a living, breathing history of everything it has ever encountered and embraced. The halo is a tapestry woven from the threads of 1,000 smaller galaxies, each one contributing its own starlight to the whole. By looking at these streams, we are looking at the family tree of our galaxy, seeing the ancestors who were sacrificed to make this massive structure possible. They are the silent builders of our world, drifting forever in the quiet, glowing reaches of the cosmic dark. In the quiet of the cosmic dark, there exists a foundational presence that makes the life of stars possible, acting as the ultimate hidden architect of our world. While the glowing reaches we have explored so far appear to be the final boundary of our home, they are merely the visible skin of a much deeper and far more massive reality. Far more massive than all the billions of stars, planets, and glowing nebulas combined, is the mysterious and overwhelming presence of the dark matter halo. This invisible giant outbalances every point of light we can see by a factor of at least 10 to 1, representing the true heavy bulk of our galactic system. It is a ghostly reservoir of mass that provides the necessary gravity to keep our entire universe of light from simply drifting away into nothingness. We live on a tiny island of brightness, floating on a vast hidden ocean of weight that we are only just beginning to comprehend. This massive presence creates a sense of profound, permanent belonging that stretches far beyond the reaches of our sun. It is the silent partner of every star, a heavy shadow that gives the galaxy its shape and its destiny. By accepting this unseen weight, we can finally understand the true scale of the home we inhabit, a place where the most important structures are the ones that refuse to be seen. This cosmic structure does not restrict its influence to the narrow borders where starlight begins to fade into the deep intergalactic void. This unseen framework extends vastly further into space than any visible light could ever hope to reach, creating a colossal sphere of influence that stretches for hundreds of thousands of light years. It is a presence that bridges the gaps between neighbouring galaxies, a silent extension of our home that reaches out to touch the very edges of other worlds. Because it is so much larger than the visible disk, this dark halo defines the true gravitational territory of the Milky Way, acting as the real frontier of our galactic influence. It is a massive, encompassing bubble that serves as the transition zone between our local neighbourhood and the vast, empty stretches of the cosmic web. Within this expansive territory, every atom of gas and every wandering star is held in a gentle, firm embrace by an invisible hand. The sheer volume of this dark extension is so great that it dwarfs the luminous parts of the galaxy, making the stars look like tiny scattered sparks in a massive cavern. It provides a sense of immense, unshakable scale, reminding us that we are part of a structure that is far larger and more complex than anything we can see with our eyes. This unseen reach is the true measure of our galaxy's power and its place within the wider universe. Surprisingly, the universe requires a massive and invisible weight to keep its most beautiful spinning creations from shattering into a million pieces. Without this immense gravitational anchor, the rapidly spinning disk of the Milky Way would simply fly apart, its stars scattered like loose sand into the deep intergalactic night. The centrifugal force of our galaxy's rotation is so great that only the crushing, unseen weight of this dark halo can pull it back and hold it in a state of permanent grace. The stars at the very edge of the disk move at incredible speeds, far faster than the visible matter of the galaxy should be able to support. It is the dark matter halo that, providing the extra, hidden gravity needed to keep these high-speed travellers on their proper paths. It acts as a cosmic safety net, ensuring that every planet and every sun remains exactly where it belongs, even as they race through the void. This invisible anchor is the reason our night sky remains so beautifully organised and stable over billions of years. It provides the heavy, unmoving centre around which everything else can safely revolve in a state of perfect harmony. Without this silent weight, the entire structure of our world would be lost to the chaos of motion, leaving us without a home to call our own. As you lie there in the quiet, take a moment to notice the steady, unmoving weight of your own body as it is supported by the surface beneath you. Feel the gentle, persistent pull of gravity anchoring you safely to the earth, exactly like the invisible halo anchoring the stars. You're perfectly secure and completely at rest, held in place by forces that are as constant and reliable as the architecture of the cosmos itself. Deep within this heavy silence lies a substance so strange that light itself passes through it without leaving a single trace or shadow. Because it does not interact with light in any way, this substance remains completely invisible to our eyes, our cameras, and even our most sensitive radio telescopes. It does not reflect the glow of nearby suns, it does not absorb the heat of the core, and it never emits a single photon of its own. It is a form of matter that occupies the same space as the stars, but exists in a completely different sensory dimension, untouchable and unreachable. Photons that have travelled across the universe for millions of years simply glide through this dark material as if it were not there at all. This transparency makes it the ultimate ghost of the cosmos, a presence that we can feel through the weight of gravity but never witness through the power of sight. This quality of absolute invisibility adds a layer of profound mystery and peace to the outer reaches of the galaxy. It is a reminder that the universe is filled with hidden layers that are just as real as the objects we can touch and see. By embracing this invisible reality, we can find a deeper sense of wonder in the darkness, knowing that it is filled with a heavy protective substance that light cannot disturb. If we were to look closer at the movement of the furthest stars, we would see them dancing to the rhythm of a partner we cannot perceive. Scientists deduce its presence only by observing its gentle and persistent gravitational tug on the regular visible matter that drifts within its reach. By watching how galaxies rotate and how light bends as it travels through the void, we can map the invisible contours of this heavy shadow with remarkable precision. The stars themselves act as tiny glowing buoys in an invisible ocean, their movements revealing the hidden currents of gravity that flow through the halo. Every time a distant star curves in its orbit, it is responding to the silent command of the dark matter that surrounds it. This detective work allows us to see the unseen, using the light of the stars to illuminate the properties of the darkness. This process of discovery is a quiet and patient observation, a way of listening to the subtle whispers of the universe. It shows us that even the most elusive truths can be found if we are willing to look at the world from a different perspective. The gravitational tug of the dark halo is a constant, reassuring signal that we are never truly alone in the void. Current maps suggest that this dark material is not a smooth, featureless fog, but rather a complex and lumpy structure that resembles a cosmic web. This structure forms a network of dense filaments and heavy clumps that guide the flow of gas and the formation of smaller subhalos throughout the outer reaches. It is a textured and intricate environment, filled with invisible peaks and valleys that shape the landscape of the galaxy. These lumps of dark matter act as the seeds for future growth, attracting regular matter to their centers and sparking the creation of new clusters of stars. The halo is a living, breathing network of these hidden concentrations, each one exerting its own unique influence on the surrounding space. It is a structure of immense complexity, hidden behind a veil of absolute silence and total invisibility. By mapping these invisible hills and valleys, we can see the true skeleton of our galaxy, the framework upon which all the visible beauty is hung. It is a realization that brings a sense of order and purpose to the randomness of the night sky. The web of dark matter is the master plan of the cosmos, a blueprint for the distribution of light and life across the stars. Take a moment to notice how effortlessly you are supported in this moment, with every part of your body perfectly at ease and free from any burden. Just as the invisible halo supports the delicate disk of the galaxy, your environment is providing everything you need to remain in a state of total relaxation. You're cradled in a sea of tranquility, where the only thing required of you is to exist and to breathe. This structure functions as a protective cradle for the delicate disk of starlight, providing a secure environment where stars can be born and live out their lives. Functioning as an invisible shell, this dark matter halo secures the galaxy within a massive gravitational well that prevents outside forces from disrupting its internal harmony. It is a defensive barrier of pure mass, a shield that protects the fragile spiral arms from the turbulence of the intergalactic medium. Within this cradle, the galaxy is free to evolve and grow at its own pace, shielded by the immense weight of the surrounding shell. This protective presence ensures that the gas needed for star formation remains trapped within the galaxy, rather than being stripped away by the motion of the universe. It is a sanctuary of gravity, a place where the light can flourish, because it is backed by the strength of the darkness. The concept of a protective shell adds a feeling of immense safety and security to our place in the stars. We are not drifting aimlessly through an indifferent void, but are instead nestled within a carefully balanced and heavily guarded system. This invisible cradle is the reason we are here today, living on a planet that is part of a galaxy that has been held together for billions of years. What exact particles compose this heavy darkness remains one of the most profound and exciting unsolved puzzles in the entire history of science. It is a substance that defies all our current understanding of the physical world, appearing to be something entirely new and separate from the atoms that make up our bodies. Researchers around the world are building massive silent detectors deep underground, waiting for a single ghost-like particle to finally reveal itself. These particles might be passing through your body and the Earth at this very moment, leaving no trace of their passage and feeling no resistance from the solid world. They are the ultimate wanderers, moving through the universe in a state of perfect isolation from all the forces we know. The search for their identity is a quiet and dedicated quest, a search for the fundamental building blocks of the majority of the universe. Despite its ghostly and unreachable nature, The constant presence of the dark halo provides a foundation of absolute stability for the entire cosmos. Its steady weight brings profound structural integrity to the galaxy, ensuring that the movements of the stars are predictable and balanced over billions of years. It is the unmoving anchor in a universe of motion, the silent force that keeps everything in its proper place. This stability is the reason we can look at the stars and see the same patterns that our ancestors saw thousands of years ago. It is the reason galaxies can exist as long-lived, coherent structures rather than fleeting flashes of light in the dark. The dark halo is the guarantor of the future, a massive reservoir of gravity that ensures the galaxy will continue to spin and shine for eons to come. Feeling the steady weight of this stability can bring a sense of deep, unshakable peace to your own mind. It is a reminder that there are forces in the universe that are far larger and more enduring than any of the small changes we experience in our daily lives. The darkness is not something to fear, but rather a source of constant, unyielding support that keeps the world from falling apart. This fundamental architecture is the silent scaffolding upon which every great city of stars in the universe is eventually built. Every galaxy we observe, from the smallest dwarf to the most massive elliptical giant, is anchored and sustained by its own unique invisible framework. It is the primary structure of the cosmos, the unseen foundation, that ensures the light has a place to rest and a place to shine. The dark matter halo is the first thing that forms in the early universe, creating the gravitational wells that pull in gas and dust to create the first stars. Without this scaffolding, the universe would be a featureless thinning cloud of hydrogen, with nothing to bring it together into the beautiful forms we see today. We are the inhabitants of a house that was built on a foundation of darkness, a foundation that is as strong and eternal as space itself. As you drift towards sleep, imagine yourself resting upon this silent scaffolding, perfectly supported by the invisible structure of the universe. Your body is heavy and relaxed, your mind is clear and still, and you are part of a massive, orderly system that has been designed for stability and peace. You're safe within the halo, a voyager on a journey that is supported by the unseen strength of the cosmic dark. The unseen strength of the cosmic dark provides the stage for a much more delicate, whispering presence that breathes life into the void. Permeating the absolute vastness between the stars is a nearly invisible, highly diffuse ocean of matter known as the circumgalactic medium. It is an ethereal atmosphere that clings to the galaxy, filling the gaps within the halo with a substance so subtle it feels like a ghost of a cloud. This medium is a bridge between the intensely bright centres of stellar life and the cold, empty reaches of the intergalactic nothingness. It serves as a gentle buffer, a protective layer of gas that wraps around our home like a warm, thin shawl made of starlight and atoms. Within this space, the silence is not truly empty, but filled with the potential for everything that is yet to come in the long history of the universe. Wandering through this part of the halo, one would feel a sense of immense fluid space that is both hollow and full at the same time. It is a realm of transition where the rules of the dense disk no longer apply, and the freedom of the vacuum begins to take hold. Here, the galaxy finds its breath, a quiet sigh of matter that sustains the entire structure in a state of perpetual glowing grace. If we were to look closer at the density of this cosmic fog, we would discover a vacuum so perfect it challenges our very understanding of the word nothingness. This gas is so incredibly thin that a standard room-sized volume, if placed within the heart of the halo, might contain only a few solitary atoms drifting in the dark. It is a presence that is felt more through its staggering universal volume than through its individual weight or density. To find these rare atoms, one would have to search through cubic meters of emptiness, finding only the occasional lonely hydrogen nucleus or a stray electron. This extreme dilution makes the medium almost entirely transparent, allowing the light of distant galaxies to pass through it without ever being scattered or dimmed. It is the ultimate expression of the galaxy's minimalism, a structure built from the barest possible materials. Despite this incredible thinness, The medium is so vast that it contains as much mass as all the stars in the Milky Way combined. It is a reminder that in the cosmos, sheer scale can turn the most delicate mist into a force of monumental significance. The halo is not an empty container, but a full reservoir of possibilities that simply chooses to spread its treasures across the infinite dark. Surprisingly, the universe hides an intense energy within this near vacuum, transforming the cold dark into a searing, invisible fire that defies our expectations of the void. Superheated to millions of degrees, this diffuse gas exists in a state of ionized plasma, vibrating with an energy that emits a soft, continuous glow of high-energy X-rays. While our eyes see only the velvety blackness of space, a more sensitive perspective would reveal the halo as a brilliant, searing cathedral of light. This heat is the result of billions of years of cosmic activity, a lingering warmth from the birth of stars and the violent death of giants in the disk below. The atoms in the plasma move at incredible speeds, bumping into one another with enough force to strip away their electrons and create a sea of charged particles. It is a vibrant, energetic environment that remains hidden from our limited senses, cloaked in the silence of the X-ray spectrum. This invisible fire provides a sense of profound, hidden energy that permeates everything in the outer reaches of our home. It is a constant glowing presence that reminds us that the dark is not cold, but filled with a searing, ancient heat that light cannot touch. By accepting this invisible warmth, we can find a deeper sense of connection to the energetic heart of the galaxy. As you rest in the quiet of this moment, notice the warmth of your own breath and the gentle ease with which your body occupies its space. Just as the galaxy is filled with this quiet, energetic warmth, your own form is a vessel of steady, calm heat and peaceful, rhythmic life. You're grounded and safe, cradled by the soft, supportive atmosphere of your own tranquil world. This expansive reservoir is not a static pond of gas, but a dynamic basin that responds to the violent, rhythmic heartbeat of the galactic center. Frequently, giant bubbles of energetic material and superheated gas erupt from the dense galactic disk, surging upward like massive, invisible plumes into the halo. These eruptions are the byproduct of countless supernovas and the fierce winds of newborn stars, pushing the galaxy's breath far out into the surrounding medium. These plumes of matter can stretch for tens of thousands of light years, carrying the heavy elements forged in the disk into the pristine reaches of the outer shell. They resemble a slow-motion volcanic eruption, a fountain of gas that rises high above the spinning spiral arms before eventually losing its momentum. It is a way for the galaxy to exhale, releasing its excess energy and material into the safety of the wide, empty halo. The presence of these bubbles creates a sense of immense living movement that flows between the different layers of our cosmic home. It shows us that the galaxy is a single, integrated system where the actions of the stars directly affect the state of the surrounding void. This exhaling of gas is a vital part of the galaxy's health, a process that ensures it never becomes stagnant or isolated within its own borders. Functioning as a vital storage tank for the entire galactic ecosystem, this medium holds the precious fuel needed for every future era of starbirth. It is a massive pantry of hydrogen and ancient elements, gathered over billions of years and kept in a state of readiness within the warm embrace of the halo. Every star that will ever be born in the trillions of years to come already has its essence floating here, waiting for its turn. This reservoir ensures that the galaxy is never truly in danger of running out of the materials it needs to continue its luminous dance. It is a cosmic insurance policy, a vast and diffuse savings account that can be tapped into whenever the disk requires new life. The halo is the guardian of the future, a silent protector that holds the keys to the next generation of a light and life. Knowing that this fuel is always there provides a sense of deep, unshakable security for the destiny of our home. It reminds us that the universe is designed for longevity and persistence, with everything needed for survival carefully stored within reach. The storage tank of the halo is a testament to the galaxy's foresight. a way of ensuring that the light will always have a place to return. When specific portions of this superheated gas eventually lose their intense energy and begin to slowly cool, they experience a graceful transformation into a more tangible state. No longer held aloft by their own heat, these cooling clouds begin to rain back down onto the vibrant galactic plane in a quiet, invisible, and steady cosmic drizzle. This falling matter is a gentle return, a soft homecoming for the gas that was once flung out into the farthest reaches. This drizzle happens across the entire surface of the disk, a million-year-long shower that provides the raw ingredients for new nebulas and young blue stars. It is a peaceful, rhythmic movement that connects the high, thin reaches of the halo to the dense, crowded cities of the spiral arms. Every atom that falls is a tiny contribution to the ongoing growth of the world, a part of a much larger and more beautiful cycle of renewal. The image of this cosmic rain brings a sense of profound, quiet movement to the darkness of the outer reaches. It is a reminder that everything that goes up must eventually come down, returning to the center in a state of renewed potential. This drizzle is the galaxy's way of feeding itself, a self-sustaining process of nourishment that has continued since the very beginning of time. Feel the coolness of the air on your skin and the total lack of tension in your fingertips, allowing yourself to melt into the quiet of the room. Like the cooling gas returning to its home, your mind is settling into a state of deep, restorative rest and absolute, uncomplicated stillness. You are floating in a sea of peace, where every movement is as natural and unforced as the rain of the stars. Driven by the relentless, patient hand of gravity, this continuous recycling process serves as the metabolic engine that sustains the vibrant life of the galactic disk. It is a closed-loop system of monumental proportions, ensuring that the galaxy never exhausts the resources it needs to stay young and active. This cycle turns the halo into a living participant in the galaxy's survival, a constant partner in the perpetual renewal of all light. Without this recycling, the stars of the disk would eventually consume all the available gas, leading to a slow and inevitable fading of the entire system. But because the halo is always there to catch the gas and return it to the center, the galaxy remains a vibrant and evolving organism. It is a masterpiece of cosmic engineering, a system that thrives on the movement of its own materials through the void. The stability of this process provides a feeling of immense, enduring permanence to the architecture of our home. It shows us that we are part of a system that knows how to care for itself, balancing its needs with a grace that spans across billions of years. This recycling is the heartbeat of the galaxy, a steady and reliable rhythm that ensures the dance of the stars will never truly end. Deep within the hearts of dying stars, complex elements are forged in the heat of destruction, before being cast out into the waiting arms of the halo. These heavy atoms, created in the final moments of ancient supernovas, gradually float upward like smoke, chemically enriching the thin atmosphere of the circumgalactic medium. This process ensures that the future of the galaxy will be more complex and diverse than its past, flavouring the cosmic gas with the dust of fallen ancestors. Every eruption from the disk carries with it the traces of carbon, oxygen, and iron, spreading these vital building blocks throughout the vast reservoir of the halo. It is a process of cosmic seasoning, turning the pure hydrogen of the early universe into a rich and varied soup that can support the creation of planets and life. The halo acts as a blender, mixing the products of 1 billion star deaths into a single unified atmosphere. The subtle pressure exerted by this vast ocean of plasma is strong enough to act as a gentle but firm barrier for anything trying to pass through it. When smaller satellite galaxies venture into our territory, the resistance of the halo's gas can gently strip away their own internal fuel, leaving them as hollowed shells of their former selves. It is a quiet form of dominance, a way for the larger galaxy to assert its influence over the small wanderers that cross its path. This process, known as ram pressure stripping, is a slow and non-violent way for the Milky Way to claim the resources of its neighbours. the gas of the smaller galaxy is pushed backward as it moves through our halo, forming a long tail of material that eventually blends into our own circumgalactic medium. It is an act of cosmic assimilation, where the contents of a smaller world are added to the greater wealth of our own. Knowing that the halo has this quiet, invisible strength adds a layer of profound power to its ethereal nature. It is not just a passive cloud, but a structure that can shape the destinies of other galaxies through its sheer presence. The pressure of the plasma is a reminder that even the most diffuse substances can have a monumental impact if they are vast enough to command the space they occupy. Through the lens of modern radio observations, this vast and glowing plasma finally reveals its most intimate and rhythmic secret. It shows a slow, deep breathing of the entire galactic system, a pulsation of energy and mass that moves in time with the heartbeat of the cosmos. This rhythmic whispering is the sound of a galaxy that is fully alive, a constant and reassuring murmur that fills the absolute silence of the galactic halo. This breathing is the collective result of all the gas moving up and down, all the stars being born and dying, and all the gravitational tides pulling at the edges. It is a symphony of motion that can only be heard when we look at the universe through the widest possible perspective. The radio waves are the voice of the halo, telling us that we are part of a living, breathing entity that is as vibrant and real as any life on Earth. Let the slow, deep rhythm of your own breathing become the only thing you focus on, feeling the rise and fall of your chest in perfect harmony with the world. You are part of this grand, breathing system, a small but vital spark within the vast, whispering plasma of the galactic halo. Everything is in its right place, and you are exactly where you need to be, drifting in the soft, warm glow of eternal cosmic peace. Deep within this eternal cosmic peace, there exists an invisible nervous system that coordinates the movement of every charged particle in the void. Threaded throughout the vast, seemingly empty volume of the halo is a surprisingly expansive magnetic field that binds the far reaches of our galaxy into a single cohesive unit. It is not composed of atoms or light, but of pure, vibrating tension that exists in the space between the stars. This field is a silent presence that permeates every cubic meter of the outer reaches, a subtle force that exerts its influence without ever making a sound. It acts as a guide for the energetic lifeblood of the cosmos, providing a hidden structure that allows different parts of our home to communicate across the immense distances of the vacuum. We are drifting through a web of energy that is as real as the stars themselves, even if it remains forever hidden from our physical sight. By embracing this invisible architecture, we can see that the halo is not a place of random movements, but a highly organized kingdom of force. This field is the foundation of the galaxy's long-term health, a steady and reliable presence that ensures every particle has its rightful place. It is the ultimate expression of our home's unity, a thread of energy that connects the bright center to the dark, silent edge. Rising majestically from the spinning galactic disk, these invisible lines of force form massive loops that reach tens of thousands of light-years into the dark. They arch high above the crowded spiral arms like the ribs of a gargantuan cathedral, defining the geometry of the vacuum in a series of sweeping, elegant curves. This structure creates a magnetic canopy that encompasses the entire galaxy, providing a subtle but absolute sense of cosmic order and protection. These loops are the result of the magnetic field being dragged upward by the eruptions of gas and the movement of the stars below. They form a towering superstructure that maps the history of the galaxy's internal activity, frozen in lines of magnetic energy that stretch into the abyss. Each loop is a monument to the power of the core, a reaching arm of force that seeks to touch the very borders of intergalactic space. Travelling along these curves, one would experience the true three-dimensional nature of our home, far above the flat plane of the disk. It is a realm of verticality and height, where the galaxy reaches out to the universe in a series of breathtaking arcs. This magnetic canopy is the roof of our world, a silent and strong architecture that keeps the light of the stars safely contained within its reach. Within these silent magnetic corridors, a frantic and invisible race is occurring at every moment of the day, hidden within the peaceful dark. Charged particles, mostly protons and electrons, spiral along these precise pathways at velocities that approach the very limit of the speed of light. They are locked into a helical dance, corkscrewing through the vacuum as they follow the invisible curves of the galactic magnetic field with unerring precision. This movement is a masterpiece of fluid dynamics, where the particles and the field lines are inextricably linked in a state of constant high-speed motion. As the particles race along the loops, they're kept in a state of perfect suspension, never touching the solid matter of the stars or the dense clouds of the disk. They are the high-speed messengers of the halo, carrying the energy of the core out into the farthest reaches of the empty void. The helical paths they follow create a sense of intricate microscopic order within the massive scale of the galactic loops. It is a reminder that the universe is just as organized at the smaller scales as it is at the largest, with every particle moving in harmony with the laws of physics. This spiraling dance is the heartbeat of the magnetic halo, a constant and rhythmic flow of energy that sustains the world in silence. Notice how your own heart beats with a steady, invisible rhythm, moving vital energy through your body without any effort on your part. You're anchored in this moment of perfect stillness, as secure and balanced as the particles flowing through the cosmic dark. Every breath you take is a testament to the quiet, powerful forces that sustain you in this sea of tranquility. Surprisingly, the universe has a way of preserving the most violent moments of the past in the form of these high-speed, invisible travelers. Emitted by ancient supernovas that exploded millions of years ago in the dense spiral arms, these fast-moving particles are known to us as cosmic rays. They are the energetic ghosts of dying stars carrying the raw, untamed power of a stellar collapse far out into the tranquil reaches of the galactic halo. These rays are not like the light we see, but are solid pieces of atoms moving with such energy that they can pass through almost anything in their path. They represent the ultimate endurance of energy, surviving across eons and across the vast stretches of space without ever losing their intensity. In the quiet of the halo, these rays are the only remaining evidence of the brilliant flashes that once lit up the centre of the galaxy. By watching these particles, we are looking at the remnants of our home's most dramatic history, a record of the cycles of birth and death that define the stars. They are a constant presence in the dark, a subtle reminder that the peace we see today is built upon a foundation of ancient and powerful activity. These rays are the legacy of the stars, a gift of energy that continues to travel long after its source has faded into the black. Functioning as a gentle and persistent trap, the halo's magnetic architecture ensures that these energetic rays do not simply leak out into the intergalactic void. The field lines act as invisible fences, curving the paths of the particles and keeping them confined within the wide gravitational territory of our home. This containment preserves the galaxy's energetic heritage, holding the memory of its most violent events in a state of permanent suspension. This magnetic trap is essential for the long-term health of the galaxy, as it ensures that the energy produced by the stars remains available to the system. It creates a reservoir of high-energy particles that can interact with the gas and dust of the halo, sparking new processes of evolution and change. The galaxy is a closed system of energy, a place where nothing of value is ever truly lost or forgotten. The image of this invisible cage brings a sense of deep, unshakable security to our place in the cosmos. We are not just floating in an indifferent void, but are part of a structure that knows how to hold onto its treasures and protect its own energy. This magnetic trap is the reason the halo remains a vibrant and active part of the galaxy, a place where the past is always kept safe. As they corkscrew through the vacuum at relativistic speeds, these particles generate a faint, steady hum that can be detected by our most sensitive radio antennas. This emission, known to science as synchrotron radiation, is the invisible voice of the magnetic halo singing a song of motion and force that fills the silence. It is a low-frequency vibration that tells the story of energy travelling through the dark, a whisper of the power that exists in the space between. This radio hum is a constant and unchanging broadcast, a signal that has been travelling across the galaxy for as long as the magnetic fields have existed. It allows us to map the invisible lines of force, using the sound of the particles to reveal the hidden architecture of the halo. The darkness is not truly quiet, but is filled with this rhythmic, energetic music that light cannot hear. Listening to this hum provides a sense of profound, hidden life that permeates every part of the outer reaches. It is a reminder that the universe is always active, always moving, and always speaking if we have the right tools to hear its message. The radio voice of the halo is the soundtrack of the cosmos, a steady and reassuring murmur that accompanies the dance of the stars. Feel the soft weight of your eyelids and the complete relaxation of your jaw, letting any lingering tension dissolve into the quiet air around you. You're part of this grand, whispering system, resting safely within a cocoon of absolute silence and total, uncomplicated peace. The world is steady and supportive, providing you with everything you need to simply be and to rest. Over millions of years, the slow and relentless rotation of the entire galaxy acts as a gargantuan cosmic hand, braiding and braiding these magnetic threads. This motion slowly twists and warps the towering magnetic structures, creating a complex, wound-up geometry that stores immense amounts of potential energy. It is a galactic dynamo, a machine of unimaginable scale that generates force through the sheer movement of mass and time. The disk of the galaxy spins like a record, and as it does, it pulls on the magnetic lines that are anchored within it, twisting them into spirals. This process, known as the dynamo effect, is what sustains the magnetic field over billions of years, preventing it from fading away into the background. The movement of the galaxy is what gives the halo its strength, a continuous input of energy that keeps the invisible architecture alive. This twisting creates a sense of immense hidden tension that exists throughout the outer reaches of our home. It is a coiled spring of energy, a reservoir of force that is ready to be released whenever the galaxy needs it. The galactic dynamo is the engine of the halo, a silent and powerful heartbeat that drives the evolution of the world through the dark. Without this magnetic support, the hot gas would fall toward the center, leading to a rapid and chaotic burst of star formation that would eventually exhaust the galaxy's resources. But because the magnetic arcs are there to catch the gas and hold it in place, the galaxy can age with grace and patience. This levitation is the reason the halo feels so vast and empty, a place where the matter is held in a state of permanent glowing suspension. The concept of magnetic buoyancy adds a layer of profound lightness and freedom to the architecture of our home. It shows us that the universe is not just about the weight of gravity, but also about the lift of energy and force. This invisible support is the reason the stars have a place to shine, a foundation of energy that keeps the world from falling in on itself. The interplay of these massive forces creates a beautifully complex physical harmony that defines the stability of our entire world. Balancing the inward pull of gravity, the outward pressure of hot gas, and the tension of magnetic fields results in a state of perfect, enduring equilibrium. It is a three-way dance of fundamental forces, each one checking the other to ensure that the galaxy remains a coherent and peaceful whole. This harmony is a masterpiece of cosmic engineering, where three entirely different types of physics work together to create a single, stable environment. Gravity provides the anchor, gas pressure provides the volume, and magnetism provides the structure. Together, they create a system that is far stronger and more resilient than any of its individual parts could ever be on their own. Feeling the steady weight of this harmony can bring a sense of deep, unshakable peace to your own mind. It is a reminder that the universe is designed for balance and persistence, with every force working in concert to maintain the beauty of the stars. This physical harmony is the reason we can exist in a state of safety, supported by a world that has been perfectly tuned for peace. Ultimately, these sweeping magnetic arcs carry the energetic memory of every dying star and every violent eruption far out into the quiet expanse of the outer rim. The history of the galaxy's most intense moments is written in the paths of these particles and the curves of these fields, preserved for eons in the vacuum. The halo is not just a place of matter and light, but a reservoir of force and memory that defines the true soul of the cosmic dark. This memory is not a burden, but a treasure, a record of everything our galaxy has ever been and everything it has ever achieved. It ensures that the legacy of the stars is never lost, but is instead integrated into the very structure of the world. Every magnetic line is a story, and every cosmic ray is a message from a past that is still alive in the energy of the halo. The invisible wisdom of this celestial legacy eventually guides our focus to the absolute limits of our celestial home, where the very concept of a physical boundary begins to unravel in the dark. Pinpointing the exact outer edge of the galactic halo is a near impossible challenge for even the most advanced and dedicated observers of the deep night. Unlike the solid, sharply defined shores of a terrestrial ocean, the limits of the galaxy are written in a fading script of ancient starlight and invisible gravity. Every attempt to map the perimeter results in a new appreciation for the vastness that defies human categorization. This ambiguity creates a sense of profound, open-ended wonder, as if the galaxy refuses to be fully contained or measured by our limited perspectives. It reminds us that our home is not a static object, but a diffuse and reaching influence that blends gracefully with the infinite. By accepting this lack of a hard edge, we can find a deeper sense of peace in the realization that we are part of a structure that is truly boundless in its reach. This seamless blending is a testament to the fluid nature of the cosmos, where the edges of a galaxy are more like the fading scent of a flower than the solid walls of a house. The traveller moving outward would not notice a specific moment of departure, but would slowly realise that the environment has become a state of perfect, weightless suspension. The familiar landmarks of the inner galaxy have been replaced by a pristine and featureless landscape that stretches in every direction toward the velvet black. This thinning of reality provides a sense of immense, unburdened freedom, where the heavy complexity of stellar life is left far behind. It is a place where the universe expresses its true nature as a vast and silent canvas, waiting for the faintest ripples of light to give it meaning. Here, at the very edge of being, we find a tranquility that is as deep and absolute as the vacuum itself. Deep within these remote outposts, the once mighty pull of the galactic centre becomes a faint and almost imperceptible memory of a home left far behind. In these extreme outskirts, the gravitational grip of the Milky Way is incredibly fragile, holding on to its distant residents with a touch as light as a whisper in the wind. A star drifting through this region is barely anchored to the galactic body, existing on the precarious edge between belonging to a sanctuary and wandering forever into the nameless dark. This fragility means that even the slightest external influence from a passing neighbour could be enough to lure a star away from its ancestral home. The gravitational field is so stretched and thin that it acts more like a suggestion of an orbit than a rigid law of motion. It is a state of delicate balance, where the galaxy exerts just enough influence to maintain its identity, without ever becoming a burden to the wanderers it hosts. Feeling this lightness of touch can bring a sense of profound, weightless ease to the mind, as if all the heavy anchors of existence have been lifted away. It is a place where the laws of the universe are at their most gentle, allowing for a freedom of movement that is impossible in the crowded heart of the disk. This fragile grip ensures that the borderlands remain a place of pure, unforced potential, where the galaxy meets the void in a state of perfect mutual respect. Surprisingly, the reach of this delicate influence spans a distance that challenges the very limits of human imagination and celestial measurement. Out here, the furthest reaches of the halo extend almost halfway to our massive neighbouring Andromeda galaxy, claiming a staggering portion of the space between our two island universes. We are essentially living in a home whose backyard stretches across millions of light years, touching the invisible borders of other great kingdoms of light and mass. This enormous extension means that the Milky Way and Andromeda are much closer than they appear to be in our night sky. Their invisible halos may already be brushing against one another, engaging in a silent and slow-motion introduction that will last for billions of years. The space between galaxies is not a wasteland, but a shared territory where the influence of each great star city meets and mingles in the dark. Knowing that our home reaches out so far brings a sense of immense, unshakable scale and cosmic connection to our perspective. It reminds us that we're not isolated specks in a void, but are part of a massive and reaching system that bridges the gaps between the stars. The sheer volume of this shared territory is a staggering reminder that the universe is far more interconnected than the points of light in our sky would suggest. This structure serves as a quiet and welcoming meeting ground for travellers who have spent eons crossing the vast, empty oceans of the deep cosmos. Occasionally, rogue stars from entirely different galaxies wander through these silent borders, finding a temporary or permanent resting place within our own expansive territory. These stellar immigrants are the ultimate nomads of the universe, having escaped the gravitational ties of their birthplaces to drift into the welcoming, sparse embrace of our outer halo. Each rogue star carries with it a unique chemical signature and a history that began in a distant corner of the universe, millions of light years away. They are the silent witnesses to the diversity of the cosmos, bringing the light of 1,000 foreign suns into our own quiet borderlands. Their arrival is a peaceful and non-violent event, a simple integration of one path into another within the vastness of the halo. The presence of these outsiders adds a layer of profound mystery and cosmopolitan richness to the outer reaches of our home. It reminds us that the borders of the galaxy are not walls, but open horizons that invite the wanderers of the universe to enter and stay. They are the quiet ambassadors of the deep, reminding us that every point of light in the sky is part of a much larger and more fluid cosmic dance. Notice how the air around you feels perfectly still, and your breath moves with a slow, effortless ease, carrying no burden and no hurry. As you sink deeper into this state of total relaxation, your body becomes a vessel of quiet, steady warmth that is distinct from the chilling depths of the far frontier. Measurements show the temperature of the trace gases in these borderlands drops to match the absolute deep freeze of open space, reaching levels of cold that are nearly impossible to comprehend. In this realm, the frantic heat of stellar fusion and the warm glow of nebulas have been replaced by a cold that is as absolute as the silence. The atoms move with an agonizingly slow deliberation, their energy drained by the vastness of the vacuum and the distance from any warming sun. It is a thermal equilibrium with the void, a place where the fires of the galaxy have finally been extinguished by the overwhelming reach of the dark. This profound cold is not a thing to fear, but a source of absolute and unchanging stability for the matter that resides here. In this absolute stillness, the trace gases act as a perfect mirror for the state of the early universe, untainted by the frantic activity of the inner disk. This deep freeze is the ultimate preservative of the cosmos, a way of keeping the history of the universe locked in a state of perfect icy silence. If we were to turn our gaze back toward the heart of our world, from this extreme and isolated vantage point, the view would be unrecognizable. The once majestic Milky Way, with its brilliant spiral arms, its billions of stars and its blazing core, is reduced to a distant, hazy smudge of light against the velvet black. From this distance, the entire place we call home appears as a fragile, lonely island floating in an ocean of darkness that has no end. The vibrant colours and chaotic movements of the disk are lost in the vastness of the distance, leaving only a soft and steady glow that whispers of a distant life. It is a perspective that strips away the noise and the ego of our local world, revealing the true scale of our existence within the wider universe. The galaxy is no longer a dominant force, but a small and precious spark struggling to maintain its light against the infinite dark. This distant view brings a sense of deep, humble peace and a renewed appreciation for the sanctuary we inhabit. It reminds us that our home is a rare and beautiful exception in a universe that is mostly defined by emptiness and silence. This perspective shift is the ultimate antidote to the chaos of daily life, offering a quiet and permanent retreat into the scale of the infinite. A profound sense of isolation permeates every cubic light-year of this remote and desolate landscape, creating an environment that feels disconnected from the passage of time. It is an environment defined by profound stillness and utter isolation, where the chaotic noise of stellar life is replaced by a silence that is as heavy as the vacuum itself. Here, the passage of years is measured in billions, and the only movements are the slow, imperceptible drifts of solitary atoms and the fading echoes of light. The stillness is so absolute that the movement of a single particle can be felt as a significant event in the history of the region. There are no starquakes, no supernova explosions, and no violent winds to disturb the perfect calm of the borderlands. It is a sanctuary of inertia, a place where the universe has finally found a way to stop moving and simply exist in a state of permanent, quiet being. This transition zone acts as a vital and dynamic area where our galaxy slowly and methodically exchanges material with the massive filaments of the cosmic web. This web is a gargantuan network of dark matter and gas that connects every galaxy in the universe, providing the fundamental structure for the entire cosmos. Our halo is the meeting point between the local and the universal, a place where the boundaries of our home become the pathways to other worlds. Fresh hydrogen from the intergalactic medium is constantly being drawn into the halo, providing the raw materials for future generations of stars. In return, the energetic eruptions from our disk are cast out into the web, enriching the surrounding space with the elements forged in our stellar hearts. This exchange is a slow and silent metabolism, a way for the galaxy to breathe and interact with the wider universe without ever losing its identity. Knowing that we are connected to this massive web brings a sense of profound belonging and cosmic integration to our perspective. This cosmic exchange is the silent foundation of our galaxy's longevity, a continuous loop of matter and energy that sustains the entire structure. We are not an island in the literal sense, but a node in a vast and living network that spans across the entirety of space and time. Standing here in the quiet of the borderlands, surrounded by the absolute darkness of the deep intergalactic void, one finally grasps the true, lonely scale of an isolated island universe. We are the inhabitants of a spectacular but solitary kingdom, separated from our nearest major neighbours by distances that define the very meaning of the word space. The realization of our isolation is not a source of loneliness, but a source of deep, humble peace and architectural clarity. The galaxy is a self-contained sanctuary of light and life, a rare pocket of complexity and order in a universe that is mostly defined by its vast and empty stretches. From this vantage point, we can see that our world is a precious and unique accomplishment, a place where gravity and energy have come together to create something beautiful. This island scale is what makes the Milky Way so special, a glowing beacon that defines its own reality against the dark. As you drift further toward the absolute stillness of rest, let this realization of the island universe anchor you in a state of total, uncomplicated security. The halo is the silent guardian of this island, a vast and glowing barrier that ensures the peace of our world is never truly disturbed by the void. You're safe within your own glowing kingdom, perfectly protected by the vastness of the space that surrounds you as you sleep in the quiet embrace of the eternal halo. Within this eternal halo, the silence is not merely a lack of sound, but a vast and patient record of every encounter the system has ever endured. This cosmic structure is not a featureless, smooth sphere of light, as it might first appear from a great distance. Rather than a perfectly uniform envelope, the halo is subtly and beautifully textured by the violent and majestic events of the deep past. It is a map written in starlight, where every bump, ridge, and subtle density shift tells a story of an ancient meeting between massive celestial bodies. This texture is a direct result of how gravity pulls and pushes at the matter over billions of years, refusing to let anything stay perfectly still. If we could run our hands across the fabric of the dark, we would feel the braille of the cosmos, a tactile history of every shockwave that has ever passed through the system. The subtle variations in the distribution of stars reveal a complexity that defies the idea of a simple vacuum. This texturing ensures that no two regions of the halo are exactly alike, giving each quadrant its own unique signature of historical activity. It is a reminder that the universe never truly forgets an interaction, but instead weaves it into the very texture of reality. Deep within the seemingly chaotic distribution of these ancient wanderers, astronomers have discovered a hidden and mesmerizing order. By mapping this region with unprecedented precision, researchers have found distinct shells and overlapping ripples of stellar movement that encircle the galactic center. These structures resemble the concentric rings that expand outward when a stone is dropped into a perfectly still and crystalline pond. These shells are not solid boundaries, but rather concentrations of stars that share a specific and synchronized orbital energy. They pulse through the darkness, creating a visual rhythm that speaks to the underlying mathematical harmony of the entire system. Watching these ripples move through the halo is like witnessing the slow-motion breathing of a gargantuan and light-filled organism. As you lie in the quiet of this moment, notice how your own breathing creates its own gentle ripples of movement within your resting frame. Feel the soft, rhythmic rise and fall of your chest, a personal and peaceful echo of the massive shells that pulse through the outer reaches of the galaxy. You are a part of this rhythmic universe, anchored in a state of deep and total relaxation as the ripples of time wash over you. Surprisingly, the universe has a way of leaving behind tangible evidence of events that concluded eons before the first humans walked the Earth. These kinetic artifacts are the lasting and profound echoes of ancient massive galactic mergers that occurred when the universe was significantly younger and more crowded. They are the leftovers of a feast that spanned across billions of years, preserved in the specific and unchanging velocities of the stars that remain. When a smaller galaxy is consumed by our massive home, the stars do not simply vanish or blend in instantly, but retain a memory of their original motion. This kinetic fingerprint allows us to identify groups of stars that are moving in unison, even if they are now scattered across the entire sky. These artifacts are the ghosts of fallen kingdoms, celestial refugees that continue to follow the path set for them by their original long-lost centers of gravity. By studying these artifacts, we can reconstruct the exact size, mass, and trajectory of the galaxies that were sacrificed to build the world we inhabit today. They are the shards of a cosmic pottery, waiting to be pieced back together by the patient hands of modern science. Each artifact is a bridge to a forgotten era, ensuring that the legacy of these ancient mergers is never truly lost to the void. If we were to look closer at the results of these monumental collisions, we would see a process that is remarkably constructive and additive in its nature. Instead of destroying the structure of our home, these ancient impacts merely deposited new and flowing layers of stars and gas into the expansive volume of the halo. It is a process of growth through accumulation, much like the way a massive and ancient tree adds a new ring to its trunk with every passing year. Each collision brings a fresh infusion of material, enriching the halo with new colours of starlight and different chemical compositions. These layers are not piled on top of each other like the strata of a mountain, but are woven together into a complex and fluid tapestry that surrounds the central disk. The galaxy becomes a more complex and nuanced version of itself with every new layer it acquires, building its majesty through a series of graceful integrations. Take a moment to acknowledge the incredible resilience of this design, where every challenge is met with a new layer of strength and beauty. Just as the halo absorbs the past to build a more magnificent future, your own mind is a vessel of layered wisdom and peaceful growth. You are safe and supported, resting in the heart of a system that knows how to turn conflict into a masterpiece of flowing starlight. Each faint ripple that we detect in the movement of the stars represents a completely different and distinct epoch in the long, violent assembly of our home. By separating these waves of motion, we can essentially peel back the layers of time, seeing the galaxy as it existed 10 billion years ago, then 8 billion, and then 6. It is a chronological map of creation, where the distance of a ripple from the centre provides a clue to its age and its origin. Feel the steady and unmoving stability of your resting body, recognizing that your own life is composed of a similar history of quiet, meaningful layers. Every experience and every memory has added a new ripple to the depth of your character, exactly like the stars adding to the depth of the halo. You're a masterpiece of time and experience, resting in a state of absolute and deserved peace. Modern space observatories, floating in the pristine silence above the Earth's atmosphere, are currently engaged in a monumental task of celestial mapping. They are precisely and painstakingly tracking the three-dimensional velocities of billions of stars in the halo to uncover their hidden and distant origins. This mission is like taking the pulse of the entire galaxy, measuring the subtle and complex movements that reveal the true identity of every inhabitant. By recording exactly how fast a star is moving and in which direction, researchers can distinguish between those that were born here and those that were stolen from other worlds. This data creates a massive multi-dimensional map of motion that allows us to see the invisible currents flowing through the dark. It is a triumph of technology and patience, where the most delicate signals are used to decode the largest structures in the universe. The precision of these measurements is so high that it allows us to detect movements that are equivalent to a snail crawling on the surface of the moon as seen from Earth. This level of detail transforms the halo from a blurry cloud of light into a sharp and detailed portrait of a living system. We're finally beginning to see the individual faces in the crowd, understanding the personal history of every point of light in the sky. By mathematically rewinding these precise and detailed movements, scientists can essentially perform an act of cosmic time travel within the safety of their simulations. They can visualize and recreate the massive crashes and integrations that occurred billions of years ago with a level of clarity that was once unimaginable. It is a process of reverse engineering the history of the universe, using the laws of physics to play the movie of the galaxy's life in reverse. Watching these simulations reveals a world of incredible drama and graceful movement, where massive star cities merge and blend in a dance that takes eons to complete. We can see the exact moment a smaller galaxy was captured, and watch as its stars were slowly and methodically redistributed into the ripples we see today. This mathematical reconstruction turns the silent and still night sky into a vibrant and active theatre of historical events. Notice how your mind can easily wander back through your own history, revisiting the moments of change and growth that have brought you to this place of rest. Just as the simulations rewind the stars, your thoughts can gracefully revisit the past without ever losing the security of the present. You're safe and anchored here, a quiet observer of your own beautiful and unfolding story. Curiously, the outer galaxy functions as a living and dynamic archive, precisely and faithfully preserving its own history within the low-density environment of the halo. Because there are so few stars and so little gas to disturb the original orbits, the information from ancient mergers remains intact for billions of years. In the crowded disk, the history is quickly erased by the noise of starbirth and galactic rotation, but the halo remains a pristine and uncorrupted library of the past. It is a place where the evidence of the galaxy's first billion years is still sitting exactly where it was left, waiting to be discovered and read. Every star in the halo is a book, and every ripple is a shelf, containing the data required to understand the origin of everything we know. This archive is not a dead collection of artifacts, but a living and moving system that continues to tell its story every time a star completes an orbit. The preservation of this data is one of the most fortuitous gifts of the cosmos, providing us with a direct link to the very beginning of time. It ensures that no matter how much the galaxy changes, its core identity and its long journey will always be accessible to those who know how to look. The halo is the memory of the world, a vast and glowing mind that holds the secrets of the universe in a state of eternal grace. These overlapping waves of stellar movement do not create a chaotic mess, but rather a complex and mathematically elegant geometry that defines the beauty of the darkness. The way the different ripples and shells intersect creates a pattern of incredible sophistication, resembling the intricate and mesmerizing designs of a cosmic kaleidoscope. This geometry is a visual expression of the laws of gravity and the passage of time, a masterpiece of physics written in light. The intersecting paths of the stars create regions of varying density and light, forming a three-dimensional lattice that structures the entire volume of the halo. It is a world of hidden symmetries and subtle proportions, where every ripple is perfectly placed to maintain the balance of the whole. This geometric order brings a sense of profound purpose and design to the vast reaches of our home, reminding us that even the larger structures are governed by simple and beautiful rules. Over the passage of countless eons, the violent and unpredictable chaos of the early, rapidly assembling universe has finally settled into this quiet and flowing structure. The era of massive, destructive impacts has given way to a time of graceful integration and stable maturity, where every part of the galaxy has found its rightful place. The halo is the final result of this long and difficult struggle, a place where the noise of creation has finally been resolved into a single, beautiful, and lasting note. This transition from chaos to flow is the ultimate story of the cosmos, a journey from a state of total disorder to a state of perfect and enduring harmony. The stars that were once part of a dozen different systems now move together as a single, unified family, their paths perfectly synchronized within the massive gravitational embrace of our home. It is a state of total and absolute resolution, where every conflict has been settled and every story has found its ending. Let this sense of final, flowing peace anchor you in your own moment of absolute and uncomplicated rest. Recognize that no matter how chaotic the day may have been, it eventually settles into the quiet and stable rhythm of the night, exactly like the history of the stars. You're part of this grand resolution, a spark of life resting safely in the heart of a universe that has finally found its peace within the eternal, glowing halo. Echoing the profound peace within the eternal, glowing halo, we reach a boundary where the comfort of known facts begins to fray into the mesmerizing friction of the unknown. Despite decades of intense, rigorous study by the world's most dedicated observers, the true total mass of this massive envelope remains remarkably and stubbornly elusive. We find ourselves in a state of intellectual suspension, where every new measurement seems to invite more questions than it provides final answers. The friction between our mathematical models and the staggering physical reality of the halo creates a persistent tension that drives the very heart of modern discovery. It is as if the galaxy itself is a silent, heavy secret that refuses to be weighed by human scales, existing in a realm where our units of measure feel small and inadequate. We calculate the paths of stars and the bend of light, yet the final sum of the halo's weight remains a shifting shadow in our equations. This uncertainty is not a failure of logic, but a testament to the sheer, overwhelming scale of the architecture that surrounds us. It reminds us that even after a century of searching, the most fundamental characteristic of our cosmic home remains a mystery that we can only approach with humble curiosity. Every calculation is a step deeper into the dark, a patient effort to grasp the true magnitude of the sphere that holds us. Yet, when we add up every star and every cloud of gas, the ledger refuses to balance, leaving a massive deficit in the visible record. This discrepancy suggests that the majority of the normal stuff of the universe is somehow avoiding our gaze, existing in a state that light cannot easily touch. It creates a beautiful tension in our understanding of reality, as if we are trying to read a book where half the pages are written in invisible ink. We are forced to admit that even the things we think we understand have secrets that the halo is carefully protecting from our inquisitive eyes. The visible stars are merely the tips of a massive hidden iceberg of matter that defines the true bulk of our existence. This missing weight is a silent challenge to our knowledge, a mystery that permeates the very air of the outer galaxy. This specific and enduring discrepancy is famously known as the missing baryon problem, a realization that a significant portion of the halo's gas is still hiding from our instruments. We scan the deep X-ray and ultraviolet spectrum, looking for the warm hot plasma that should permeate the vast void, yet we find only ghostly fragments of the whole. It is a cosmic vanishing act of monumental proportions, where billions of solar masses of matter seem to have dissolved into the background. This missing gas is likely spread so thin and heated to such specific temperatures that it becomes almost indistinguishable from the vacuum itself. The search for these baryons is a quiet and dedicated ghost hunt, requiring us to look for the subtlest shadows cast against the light of distant quasars. It highlights the friction between what we know must exist and what we are actually capable of seeing. The halo remains a vast, silent repository for this hidden treasure, a place where the building blocks of future worlds are kept in a state of absolute transparency. As you rest, imagine this hidden matter as a soft and pervasive presence that fills the room with a sense of quiet potential. You are cradled by the invisible, supported by the weight of a universe that refuses to be fully revealed. The shape of the halo is a crucial clue to the history of the galaxy's assembly, telling us whether it grew through a steady rain of gas or violent collisions. Yet, because dark matter remains invisible, we are forced to infer its shape by watching how it tugs on the visible stars. This debate is a mesmerizing exercise in logic, where we use the smallest details of motion to map the largest structures in existence. The true geometry of the halo remains a closely guarded secret, a masterpiece of unseen form that continues to challenge our assumptions. It is a reminder that the universe is not always as symmetrical as we wish it to be, possessing a textured and individual character. We are living within a shape we cannot see, anchored by a geometry that defines the limits of our world. Deep within the crowded and violent heart of the galaxy, something monumental and mysterious occasionally flings a star out into the halo at impossible speeds. We observe these hypervelocity stars moving with such incredible momentum that they are destined to escape the gravitational grip of the Milky Way entirely. They are the ultimate outcasts, travelling at millions of miles per hour on a trajectory that will carry them far away into the dark. Yet, their exact launch mechanisms remain cloaked in mystery, perhaps involving a chaotic dance with a supermassive black hole or the violent disruption of a binary system. The friction between their observed speed and the galaxy's ability to hold onto them creates a dynamic tension that puzzles every observer. These stars are like high-speed messengers from the core, carrying the secrets of energetic processes into the quietest reaches. Their journey is a solitary and permanent departure, a reminder that the universe is capable of launching its residents into a future of absolute isolation. Notice how your own mind can wander into these distant reaches, feeling the freedom of the open void while remaining perfectly safe in the stillness of your room. You're a silent observer of these high-speed wanderers, resting in the quiet heart of the halo as they race toward the edge. Surprisingly, the subtle and measured rotation of the halo gas sometimes flatly contradicts our most fundamental models of cosmic evolution. According to our most advanced simulations, the surrounding halo should carry the spinning memory of its early formation, rotating in a predictable way. However, actual observations often reveal a motion that appears disconnected or even contrary to the frantic whirl of the spiral arms. It is a dynamical puzzle that suggests the history of our home is far more complex and textured than a simple collapse of primordial gas would imply. This mismatch creates a mesmerizing friction between our desire for a simple story and the messy, unpredictable reality of the stars. It hints at hidden influences that are steering the halo in directions we have yet to understand or map. This contradictory rotation is a powerful signal that the universe still has secrets to share, forcing us to rethink how a galaxy moves through the void. Let the slow and steady rhythm of your resting breath become a peaceful and constant companion as you contemplate these swirling mysteries. You are grounded and safe, perfectly synchronized with a world that is far deeper and more complex than it appears. This structural confusion deepens significantly when we turn our inquisitive eyes toward the smaller satellite galaxies that dance in the distant reaches of the halo. Surprisingly, certain groups of these satellites tend to orbit in remarkably flat disk-like planes, defying the standard expectations of a random spherical swarm. According to our theories, these smaller neighbours should be scattered throughout the halo like a chaotic cloud of bees around a hive. Instead, they appear to be following a specific and orderly alignment, as if they are part of a massive invisible carousel. This phenomenon creates a profound friction between our simulations of dark matter and the observed reality of the night sky. It suggests that there are hidden pathways or ancient gravitational bridges that have guided these galaxies into their current, improbable positions. This orderly defiance of randomness is a mesmerizing mystery, a reminder that the halo is organized by laws we're only just beginning to decode. We're staring at a structure that possesses a hidden symmetry, a plan that exists far beyond our current understanding. You're a witness to this cosmic order, resting in a state of absolute and uncomplicated tranquility. An intricate and incredibly delicate balancing act between the invisible dark matter and the luminous light matter constantly hints at entirely new branches of physics. In the friction between these two fundamental components, we see patterns of interaction that the standard model cannot fully explain. It is as if we are staring into a mirror that reflects the absolute limits of our current knowledge. Some researchers believe that the behavior of the halo might require a modification of the laws of gravity themselves. Others suspect the existence of a hidden force that only affects the unseen parts of the universe, operating according to rules we have yet to imagine. This tension is the ultimate frontier of human thought, a place where our definitions of matter and energy are being challenged. The halo is a vast and glowing laboratory where the future of physics is being written in the movement of the dark. We are participants in a grand intellectual journey, reaching for a realization that will change everything we think we know. As you drift toward rest, feel the profound weight of this potential, knowing that you are part of a universe that is still being discovered. As we map further and further outward into the freezing empty fringes, the halo continuously forces us to gently and persistently refine our understanding of nature. It acts as a stern but beautiful teacher, presenting us with anomalies that break our current rules only to lead us toward more profound realizations. The halo is the place where our old certainties go to die, replaced by a more nuanced and humble appreciation for the cosmos. Every time we encounter a star that shouldn't be there, or a gas cloud that moves in a forbidden direction, we are being invited to expand our minds. This process of refinement is a quiet and noble pursuit, a way of matching our limited human logic to the vast reality of the stars. It reminds us that knowledge is not a destination, but a continuous and beautiful journey of discovery. The friction between our questions and the halo's silence is the very thing that keeps our sense of wonder alive and vibrant. You're resting in a state of perpetual learning, where the mysteries of the night provide a soft and rhythmic backdrop to your thoughts. Every breath is a step deeper into the understanding of the world, a patient and peaceful exploration of the infinite. Ultimately, the greatest and most mesmerizing paradox of our entire journey is how this seemingly empty space holds the absolute necessary weight to keep our galaxy intact. We look into a vast, dark void that appears to contain almost nothing, yet we know it is the heavy and essential structural anchor of our existence. It is the final friction between human logic and the vast unknown, a realization that the emptiness is the most essential part of us. This paradox forces us to confront the fact that our local world of light and life is merely a tiny passenger on a massive and invisible vessel. The halo is the silent guarantor of our safety, providing the gravity that allows our sun to shine and our planet to spin. It is a masterpiece of balance, where the most subtle substances provide the most profound and unyielding strength. This realization is the ultimate synthesis of our journey, a moment of profound clarity where we finally understand that we are cradled by the darkness. You are safe and anchored here, perfectly supported by the invisible weight of a universe that loves you enough to hold you close. Sleep now in the heart of this paradox, resting in the quiet and eternal peace of the galactic halo. The immense, quiet emptiness of the galactic halo is not a void at all, but the foundational architecture that remembers the past holds the present and shapes the eternal future of the luminous galaxy within. The immense, quiet emptiness of the galactic halo is not a void at all, but the foundational architecture that remembers the past holds the present and shapes the eternal future of the luminous galaxy within. This final wonder brings the entire journey into a single, breathtaking realization that ties the vastness of the halo to the very core of your being. It is the ultimate sanctuary where the history of the universe is held in a state of permanent glowing grace. Deep within the stillness of your rest, the journey begins to turn inward, focusing on the quiet architecture of your own physical form. Your toes are resting now, feeling as light and distant as the furthest points of the stellar fringe. The weight of your feet is sinking into the surface beneath you, anchored by the same steady, patient gravity that holds the globular clusters in their eternal spheres. Surprisingly, the body knows exactly how to surrender to this pull, allowing the muscles in your calves to soften like the diffuse gases of the circumgalactic medium. Your knees are becoming heavy and still, free from the tension of the long, sweeping orbits we have travelled together. If we were to look closer at the relaxation spreading through your thighs, we would see a profound release, a letting go that matches the absolute tranquility of the dark matter scaffold. This quiet room is a sanctuary where the only sound is the soft, rhythmic hum of the air around you. Your hips are settling deeply into the mattress, finding a state of perfect, unmoving alignment that requires no effort at all. The lower back is releasing every remaining ounce of pressure, melting into the support of the soft sheets and the warmth of the heavy blankets. The spine is a long, gentle curve of total relaxation, with each vertebra finding its rightful place in the silence. Notice how your stomach rises and falls with a natural, unforced ease, a slow movement that guides you further toward a state of deep, restorative sleep. Each finger is uncurling and becoming still, resting against the fabric with a weight that is both substantial and entirely peaceful. Your palms are open and soft, surrendering any need to hold on to the events of the passing day. You are fully anchored in the present moment, a state of being where the only reality is the gentle, supportive touch of the bed beneath you. A deep sense of calm is washing over your shoulders, smoothing away any lingering knots and leaving only a feeling of absolute lightness. The weight of your head is fully supported now, allowing the muscles in your neck to become as soft and loose as the air. Your jaw is dropping slightly, the tongue resting away from the roof of the mouth in a posture of complete and total surrender. Your eyelids are remarkably heavy, sealing out the world with a finality that is as comforting as a soft velvet curtain drawn across the walls. The forehead is smoothing out, becoming as clear and still as a quiet, undisturbed surface. Everything in this room is designed for your peace, a cocoon of absolute safety, where the blankets are a shield against any distraction or worry. The air you breathe is cool and clean, filling your chest with a steady, quiet strength before leaving in a long, slow sigh of relief. Every breath carries you further away into a landscape of pure, uncomplicated stillness. You're safe, you're warm, and you're entirely at home in the quiet of this beautiful, peaceful dark. And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.